Welcome to Make It Your Business, the podcast. Get the advice you need to grow your business by getting guidance from industry experts and interviews with successful small business owners. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.
Hello.
Cool. We're good afternoon now.
Oh,
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah. Episode 10, it's a big 1-0.
Episode 10. Feeling hungry now.
Yeah.
Feeling a bit crouchy, so this one come across a bit. Get hangry.
Yeah.
So, Noble?
Today's topic. What are we talking about today?
I think profit.
Okay.
Okay, you're starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I hate touching on these complex subjects.
Because there's so much to it.
There's so much to it. So you try and pick out the key points. But I know one of the questions we've seen is, when should I expect my business to make a profit?
Yeah.
And where do you start?
Yeah.
Because, the first thing I want to say is that straight away, because, you should have calculated exactly what your profit margins are on a product.
Yep.
And certainly I implore anyone who started a business to understand the difference between profit and cash flow. Because we've all been in situations where your profit and loss, I buy it at £1, I sell it at £1.50.
Yep.
I did it 10 times. That's your P&L. But if you're running any sort of credit with suppliers,
Yep.
or you're prepaying for items, or even waiting for your money to drop from, say, a credit card processing company,
Yeah.
there can be disparities. You may have made £5 that week,
Yep.
but you don't have the physical £5 in your account.
Yeah.
So let's move cash flow aside.
Okay.
'Cause it's a good one.
Yep.
And I've got some bits that we could possibly talk about.
Okay.
But when should I make a profit? Again, I would go back to how you're planning your pricing. Yeah, because I do believe people underbate how much a business costs to run.
Yep.
They don't take into account all the variables. They don't price their product accordingly.
Yep.
Or in reverse, if you're in an industry that you truly believe, and I don't believe this, but if you truly believe there's a ceiling for your price,
Yep.
then you've got a situation where you've got to work backwards.
Yeah.
How can I offer this service for less to create money?
Yep.
Now, I'll explain what I mean by I don't believe it, because, my T-shirt here might have been £10, yours might have been 20. We could go down the road and buy a Gucci T-shirt for 300.
Yep.
Okay, there's some quality differences, but not that disparity.
No.
So again, there's lots of caveats that come into how they've made that brand work.
Yep.
So you've got a situation where you've got to be saying to yourself, well, when do I make a profit? It's got to be based on your plan of sales,
Yep.
profit, and then what percentage of that profit goes into the infrastructure you need. I've seen lots of businesses in their early stages be very profitable.
Yep.
Let's say marketing, for example. There's some very, very profitable freelancers.
Yep.
Then they go to 2 people. Then they go to 3. And all of a sudden, then they need an office space. I mean, the co-working spaces or working from home, let's remove that aside.
Yep.
And perhaps I hadn't counted the fact that they now need an office and desks and chairs. They need to heat that office. So they take the cost times 1.
Yep.
They go, it's going to be 3 times the cost
Yeah.
for 3 people. But it's actually more like 4.5 times the cost.
Yeah.
Because then as you grow again, you've got costs involved in communicating between the team. You may have software, mobile phone contracts.
Yep.
I need a salesperson to go and, I'm talking sort of bricks and mortar now,
Yeah.
but that could easily be equated to, okay, now we need more sales, so we've got to invest in AdWords
Yep.
or pay-per-click as a medium.
Yep.
What's the cost of that? Because the cost of that needs to be added back to the overall position. So the complexities here lie in, when should I make a profit? The truth is, at different stages, every single time,
No.
unless it's planned for. So we've had situations where we go, right, we're making £1,
Yep.
10,000, pick a number, and we'll actively forego that profit for a period if we believe that taking that 10,000 for 3 months and investing it in 3 people and advertising after the 3-month period we then end up with 20,000 a month. And
That's an interesting point because you're saying you can choose, particularly when you're a startup or a small business, you want to grow, and if you've got profit, but you can then if you take profit out, you'll get taxed on it. But if you keep it in the business and then reinvest it in resources or staff or whatever it is, like you can then use that profit to grow a business, and then economies of scale and everything else helps out.
That's very precise in what you want. Okay, so I went to look at a business value of business the other day, and they were doing about £1 million, and when I broke it down, they were making about £50,000 a year. Okay, on £1 million turnover, which I find that's very low. But ultimately, when I looked at it, and I did approach this with the buyer, I said, your staffing costs are too high. You have too many people. We have a similar business in another vertical, and I just said, look, we have a similar business, and we have half the amount of staff. Now, from their perspective, he'd grown that over 15 years.
No.
Okay, and he had an emphasis on his employee well-being, etc., etc.
Yep.
I'm not going to take that away from him. It's his business. He can do what he wants. But I suspect, in fact, I know that he's had lots of difficulties the last few years.
No.
Because without a buffer of profit, every time there's a mishap, you're back to zero.
Yeah.
His actual problem was they weren't employing enough software.
Okay.
So they had 10 people doing what 5 could do if they had the correct tools.
Yeah.
And I know we've gone from there to there and we're coming backward.
Yeah.
But I would say be careful and constantly check, because you can end up on a path to a position that you didn't want to go to in the first place.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if we were looking at that business, and I won't go into any details, but the answer is, when is he going to be profitable? So, okay, he is technically, but percentage statistically not.
Yeah.
And he won't be until he changes his whole model.
Yeah.
Now, I suspect it wasn't like that in the early days. As things have changed, services change, even the consumer's expectation of what a company should offer them changes, and you need to change with that. And that can be increasing your prices, that can be looking at how you can employ automation, productivity, tools, training.
One thing that's always not got me stumped, but like when I look at my own business and there's different things that go on inside there, like, would you class paying yourself a salary as part of the company profits?
Great question. I think that depends if you do work in the business.
Okay.
So, and I would say 98% of small business owners work in their business, not on their business. So I would say yes. Yeah. Because otherwise you don't know the true value of your business.
Yeah.
However, you do have to understand that, and this is really hard for people. Let's say you've got somebody who's earning, say they're taking a £50,000 a year salary.
Yep.
But in reality, they could find somebody on the market for 30,000 that could do their job twice as good as them.
Yeah.
Because I'm a realist. Not all business owners are the best people to run their businesses. Yeah. That's the truth. Yeah. I mean, it's their choice. They're great. Go for it. Freedom and entrepreneurship, but also have a bit of humbleness to understand that there will come a time where you have to face up to the fact that you're not the best person for the job. No. And you can potentially get somebody, sometimes the other way around. Sometimes the owner is doing a job, they're taking £30,000 a year, and should they want to replace themselves, they need 3 people. Yeah. So it swings both ways, but most definitely, because I think if you're not, how do you know if you've got a business or you've just bought yourself a job? If you've essentially got a salary in your profit and loss for your services and you're still making a profit, theoretically you could jettison somebody in and go and sit on the beach. Yeah.
Depending what the profit is.
Absolutely. You know, but yes, I do think if you don't at least account for that, you don't know that you've got a business, you've just got a job.
Yeah, because I guess quite often it's overseen, isn't it? It's overlooked. It's just like you pay yourself a salary and you just look at the, a P&L at the end of the day, on the balance sheet, and, salaries aren't part of, your profit usually. So if you're a business owner and you're getting a salary, then...
Yeah, that's for your job, and your profit is for being the owner of the asset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the ideal situation, people want to grow to a point where you replace yourself in the business, and then all you do is work on the business. But if you love what you do, you're going to be involved.
Yeah.
But there will come a point where the owner of the business should step aside
Yep.
and let somebody more qualified
Yep.
take the reins.
Yeah.
But that's, again, a very complex subject of when that comes in.
Yeah.
But I think it's healthy to have that mindset of what a true business is as an owner would be owning an asset.
Yep.
Now, let's hypothetically say you made £50,000 a year. Okay, that's your reward for being the owner. Yep. You could take your cash
Yeah.
and buy shares in a public company and receive a dividend off of Tesco's, British Gas,
No.
Amazon.
Yeah.
You would get that money without doing anything.
Yeah.
You would get a dividend. You'd get a return on your capital. So that's what being an owner of a business is about, getting return on your capital and energy.
Okay.
But as you said, working in the business, yes, you should take a salary,
Yep.
and it should be as close as possible to market rate,
Okay.
just so you can allow. Now, again, tax accountants are going to talk about,
Different savings and
and there's merits in taking the minimum amount and dividends and salary sacrifice schemes and company car, electric cars. See a tax specialist.
Yep.
There's methodologies to save tax, but ultimately, basics.
Yep.
You should be being paid if you work in the business. The ownership's for thereafter,
Okay.
but it has to be market rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we talking about? We're talking about profits, weren't we?
Profitability. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but do you think that answered the question for people listening, or?
I think so. Yeah, it's a job to say. Like, there is so many different things to talk about, isn't there, in different aspects. Like, we did cover most things, I think. So.
I think pricing wise, you heard the phrase price elasticity.
Yeah.
And I think people need to think about that, because we've had it where we've charged £100 a month for a service, and then 6 months later you realise that £100 is being eaten up by providing the service, so then you have to increase. But there's lots of people that won't increase their prices. They say, well, I've always charged this, and therefore I have to.
Yeah.
And you can get into a funny spiral game then, because then you are trying to provide a service at a fixed rate as opposed to trying to provide the best service.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe most people don't want a service this is the truth. They don't want your service. They want the result your service gives them.
Yeah.
If you start doing it to a set price that is unsustainable, you can't invest in your business, you can't invest in your people, you can't hire talent, you can't get the best people to do that job.
No.
By definition, your service is going to become worse, poor, inadequate. You'll lose clients by trying to do them the favour of fixing the rate.
Yeah. So if your profits go down, obviously you've got two choices. You've either got to cut costs or increase prices.
You need to do both.
Yeah.
I think, I don't think it's a choice thing.
Yeah.
I think we've spoken before about every business, including my own, but every business I'm aware of and looked at will become fat by the nature of the longevity.
No.
There are things that we have within our business now that are not necessities. We'll sit there and go, oh, that's an absolute necessity because we're used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's plenty of ways to cut costs without providing inferior service.
And that's the trick.
Yeah.
Looking at those productivity hacks, looking at the automation, looking at, if we provide a certain service, can we do something online so we can sell more with the same infrastructure?
Yep.
Can we do something to differentiate, to increase our price? It's, if you're going toe to toe on equal level and you're only thinking about price, that's the fastest race to the bottom, because there will always be someone that can outprice you.
No. A lot of the time it is economies of scale, isn't it? And like the bigger fish just swallow the little ones up. So, if you're trying to...
Because they've got productivity on their side. They've got a systemization that means 3 of their operatives can do 10 of yours.
Yeah.
Or, let's look at the extremes of Amazon. They can only, as a percentage, they don't make masses of profit.
Yeah.
But they can do it at scale. Excuse me, we won't go into the history of Amazon, but briefly touching the investment that Jeff Bezos and his team put in place over those early years
Yeah.
for infrastructure, cloud computing, warehouse automation.
Yeah. You just couldn't do that as a small business. Yeah.
But they can now run in such a way. So, of course, you're at a disadvantage, but there's always opportunities.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get onto that on another. So maybe we could ask specific questions of our audience and try to see if we can help them understand their businesses by giving examples.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult. It's a game. You've got to love the game. I think it's Gary V I follow. He's more into marketing, but he says it's a game. He loves the game. He does it for the game.
Yeah.
I find personally it's intoxicating. It's exciting. I love business. I love marketing of businesses, helping people. If you don't and you're just doing this to make money, I can imagine that's a harder grind.
No.
But yeah, whether it's our chats, the coffee room chats, monthly meetings we have with teams, quarterly meetings with owners.
Yeah.
We're constantly pivoting. What's changed in the world? What's happened? What's changed with our clients, our staff, the world?
Yeah.
And it's a constant. It's a game.
Yeah.
Tweak.
Yeah.
Where are the new opportunities? I think in an earlier podcast we spoke about carving time out for customer acquisition. Mm-hmm. Well, the next stage on that advancement is carving time out to assess the business on a regular basis. It's very good to be selling a ship in a direction.
No.
Looking at how efficiently you can do that with the least amount of energy. But every now and again, you have to stop and go, we still selling in the right direction? And it appears so, especially profits.
Yeah.
I've known lots of businesses that sell very, very well. And what sangles do is they hide a multitude of sins.
Yeah.
And it's not nice being the ogre that goes, oh, right, I know we've had best sales ever this month, but here's the problem. Our costs are rising. We've let our other clients down. This service is not up to the standard.
No.
And I know that seems negative.
No.
But the crux of it is you just focus on giving the best possible service.
No.
And then you can charge the correct amount of money to make sure you're profitable, both for you.
No.
It's a business. You want to make money. You want to look after your family and your staff.
Yep.
But also to cope with the changes, the pivots, the eventualities.
No.
Super important, because one kick in the wrong direction, a lot of small businesses suddenly get an unexpected tax bill.
Yep.
Piece of plant breaks.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what we've had, but we've had robberies. We've had bricks and mortar stores would come in and the shop fronts smash through.
No.
And they've stolen the till and the safe and they've smashed the place up. These things happen in real life. And then, you could argue there's insurance there, but it was still us that had to pick the pieces up, pay it out, get it arranged, get training back on, wait X amount of time.
Yeah.
So, there's always something with business. So, having... I'll recommend a book, actually, because this is a really interesting one. Profit First.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do like a book recommendation thing. I don't know. But what I really like about Profit First is it talks about the fundamental values of most business people. They go, but expense, what have I got left?
No.
But it especially helps with cash flow, but more mindset. What that book, this is my 10-second dribble on a very good book. It says to work out your percentages. My wages cost 10, my VAT is this, my tax is going to be that, my emergency fund is this, and when payments come in, it's to split them into different places by percentages. And what I find fundamentally interesting in that is you've always then got a buffer. It's more going back to that whole, I think this is Harry explains in the book actually, sort of, certainly when I was a kid and it was more a cash society and mum would, the wages should have like an envelope for food, an envelope for gas bill, an envelope for electric, and
making sure everything's covered
and budgeted for in advance, and having that emergency fund. But we could do a whole thing on that book. Really great book. Look it up. It's one of my top 10 reads, I think, for small business.
Okay. Cool.
Right. See you soon.
That was good.
Go have some lunch.
I
said I was angry, didn't I? That's good. No, great talk. Thanks, man.
Cool.